Which of the Chaos Dwarves is the strongest is a fantastic question and extremely subjective, but I'm going to share my thoughts on who I believe is the most powerful, so let's jump to it. My experience shows that Drazowith is the strongest Chaos Dwarf Legendary Lord, and there's a couple of reasons as to why. It was perceived to be the hardest start location to begin with, just because of where we are and who we have in the surrounding areas. But it's actual fact one of the easier ones, mainly because of the fact that Grimgor is actually more so contending with Astrogoth. Astrogoth, the complexity with him is he has a lot of room for expansion, but a lot of enemies as part of doing that. You go north, all of a sudden you're going to be fighting all this. You're going to be fighting Contheric, you're going to be fighting the Norskins, you're going to be fighting Kislev. If you go into the south, obviously you're going to start fighting Grimgor, which is pretty much an inevitability anyway. Alongside that, you're going to have to fight, obviously, Tretch, and you'll be moving towards the Dwarves. So your obvious room of expansion in the early stages of the game, before you're starting to get some really nice, armor, weaponry, equipment levels, etc., he will start to struggle because of how many things he has to fight. Whereas Drazowith's start location's actually super, super tucked away and really, really nice. So basically what you do is just take the Black Fortress and the Howling Wastes, and then just jump over to Imric, beat him up, take his province, and then you have a couple of things in which you can do, which is a really nice thing to have. You can go towards Karakazul, which is perfectly acceptable, but what I like to do is, as part of the short campaign victory, I like to kill Tretch next, and it shouldn't be too difficult, especially if you've gone with the Gorduts, Backstabber, Turn 4 strat that I have a video on. But generally speaking, the start location's absolutely crazy. Drazowith himself becomes an absolute unit the second he gets Cinder Breath, makes him an extremely powerful fighter, and obviously killing Imric, you get some bonus versus large as well, making you a really good duelist in the air. On top of this, you have the long years of exile, making it so your Flames of Asgore does incredible amounts of damage at a very, very low cost. And for me, my experience when it comes to expansion, you very, very rarely have enemies that want to fight you because it's quite relatively easy. Surprisingly, even though you can see here that this is minus 36, it wouldn't surprise me if we can start becoming friends with him. We declared war on Goldtooth, for example, and then now this would allow us to basically become friends with Helm and Gorst, allowing us to recruit some nice units and have a buffer on the right-hand side. Also, obviously, Nurgle will want a piece of Helm Gorst, but if you have a relatively low tier army, you can very much help Helm Gorst out, and it's easy to become friends with your surrounding areas, and that is one of the main factors, whereas Astrogoth cannot do the same. Also, I wanted to talk about the fact that you can get some insanely powerful Kadai stacks due to the fact that you have the Master of Hell. So you can make Kadai Destroyers really, really nice as long as you've got the Unbreakable, otherwise it's just not worth using. Alongside of this one, the We Are Legion is amazing for Infernal Guards because you can get these guys to be bonus versus everything basically, and they'll do an amazing job at pretty much killing anything you put them against, and a Fire Glaive stack will perform very, very, very well. And he has many options that make him viable. For example, Astrogoth's unique line is not the best. It doesn't really do much, whereas Drazowith can make Infernal Guards amazing. He can increase the amount of money he makes from cities and raw material output, and he's got Barrier to allow him to overcast spells alongside having a ton of HP. As you can see, he's got 10,000 health, and he is just an absolute insanely powerful duelist, and he will beat up pretty much anything you put him against, as he's got crazy charge bonus, really high weapon strength, great melee attack with fire attacks, and as we know, the Flames of Asgore is pretty much a bonus versus everything. It will do damage against absolutely everything. I would suspect it will be nerfed, but it is a great spell, does tons of damage, and it is great fun to use. So to summarize, from his combat perspective, he's an amazing duelist. He can fight really well. Cinder Breath is a very good mount to fight inside of entities as well. Inventory, as she will do tons and tons of AoE damage. We also have the likes of the magic that we have. Obviously, Flames of Asgore costing ridiculously cheap spells. Makes it so that you can print off a ton of value in the fighters. Alongside of this, Flames of Asgore can destroy walls, so you have just so many options as Drazowith, because you've got two of the best compositions you can build, aka obviously the Infernal Guards and the likes of the Kadai Destroyers. And on top of this one, you've got very powerful magic, and just you're a great duelist. But yeah, that's kind of how I would summarize his combat prowess. And from my experience, due to the fact that you are tucked away, you can really easily expand into any direction in which you want to, as you have the option to take on one opponent at a time, instead of having to struggle against a lot of things. And you have the early on, you can cheese effectively and raid Zana Grund to get loads of laborers and money. This stack is basically laborers, and it's only costing me 657, and we're making profit by doing this and a ton of laborers. Just wanted to include this one just so you could see this, as Zana Grund are effectively hard coded not to attack you as well, so you can raid them as much as you want. But thought it was important to include this. And on the Black Fortress, a lot of the Cathay caravans will be walking through, making it so you can get tons of money from that as well. Do you guys agree with my assessment? I feel like personally Drazareth has really impressed me. Happy to have discussions if you feel like Astrogoth or Zatan is better. For me personally, Zatan is just too far away from the action to be, he can't really do much because he's too far away. He can't snowball like everybody else can, especially Drazareth. Alongside that, Grimgor definitely is a bit of a contender for you because he will declare war. So basically, Drazareth is the only one that can avoid Grimgor's wrath for a good chunk of time. And he, like I said, we concluded that he's just absolutely nuts when it comes to magic and fighting. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. As always, guys, have a wonderful day. And make sure to check out my other content on the screen now.